As we make it to the game in style, we're looking forward to playing in tonight's matchup. There's going to be a lot of action, and underground games tend to be a little bit more fishy than their casino counterparts. So, when we pick up the King Jack suited on the button, we come in for a raise of 15. And at these types of games, everyone comes to gamble, and every pot tends to be a family style. And this one is no different, as we go 4 ways to a flop of King, 7, 8, 2 clubs. And when all 3 players check to the aggressor, we go for a half-size bet. I do this for 2 reasons. I want to fold out all hands that whiff, and if I get check raised on a board like this after a small c-bet, I might be able to escape if somebody has the king-queen or better. And we do get called in one position. So as the rest of the table folds, we go heads up with the small blinds. We're nearly certain that we're good right now, so we want to see how the turn develops, and to our delight, we hit top 2 pairs. The only real hand that we're worried about is the 9-10. While unlikely, it is out there, but we're most likely up against a hand like 7 or 8x that has a draw card to go with it, possibly a 10. So we elect to sneakily check back and see a safe river. And boy does that pay off, as our opponent leads for 55. We're in no way just calling this bet. That deuce shouldn't help anyone, and my check back might show the opponent that I'm a lot weaker than I am. So I check raise and put my opponent to the test. He does go into the tank. At first, I thought it was a way to save face, but as more and more time passes, I start to think I might be getting called, which is great because any stronger hand would certainly put in the money, so a just call is almost a guaranteed win. But my opponent folds and we scoop in our first pot. The next hand we pick up is the King 10 offsuit. A bit weaker than my normal open under the gun +4, but when you make the nuts in these types of games, you get paid off. And besides, what did I say before? Everyone came to gamble, so everyone's ranges look like a financial advisor's worst nightmare. So gamble we will, as 5 players join the flop for $20 apiece. We are most likely dominated by at least one of them, so when the flop comes out 10 high, we probably just took the lead. And there's nothing more expensive in poker than giving away a free card. The opponents will not be getting one of those. So when everyone checks to me, we turn up the aggression and we put out a bet of $50. And thinking back, I should really be going 3/4 or full pot in this spot, but it does ultimately fold around to the big blind, who does make the call. And I begin to put the big blind on a range when I realize my opponent only has $70 left behind. So despite the turn card not being the best one against his range, we have to be honest with ourselves. There's no reality in which I don't get it all in if he bets, so I just lead out with a jam.
How much you got left? I'm all in.
He does think about it, and he does quickly call. I'm not sure what we need to fade, but as the 3 of diamonds peels off on the river, we table our cards, and we're good. The opponent folds and doesn't show us what we need it to be. We scoop in another nice pot, building my stack and my confidence at the same time. A point worth mentioning is every 1 rotation we do a PLLO hand, and last hand was a monster that almost everyone on the table was involved in. So when we pick up the ace-5 offsuit on the button, we want to juice up the pot a little bit. So we open for 25, and we do get 2 callers. The person to the left of me has called every one of my raises out of position and has lost every single pot that we played. So I know he's looking to get me good, and his range definitely errs on the side of revenge. So when the board comes out, King, 7-5, 2 spades, we may have whiffed, but we certainly have the range advantage. Plus, we have the ace of spades. So when my opponent leads out for a donk bet, we make the smooth call with cruel intentions on stealing this pot on any wheel card or spade on the turn. And to our delight, we hit a wheel card that is a spade on the turn. You never want to check your hold cards like I just did, because you tell your opponents that you don't have a flush. Any player that makes a flush knows he made a flush, but the plan remains the same. So as the player to the left of me bets 25, that looks like a blocker bet. So we pop it up to 75, thinking that the hand is going to end right here. To my surprise, that's not what happens at all. My opponent makes the call. I'm not even looking at the river, I'm studying my opponent's reaction to the last card, as I believe it's a one pair with a spade holding. He does look like he missed, so I bet $100 essentially blind. And when I do look at the river, I know that we just drilled a very disguised hand, and my opponent doesn't snap folds. In fact, he goes deep into the tank. This was the same player who had to fold my river raise on the king-jack hand. I know that's playing a part in his head, so now I just do my best at being patient and looking weak and disinterested in the hand and the outcome. And the villain really tests my patience and stays in the tank. Now at this point, I'm just begging for a weak call, hoping to keep me honest. He seems like he might have a calling hand, which means I need to sit there in the hot seat and look like I don't want to call. So we pull some reverse tells out of our tool belts, a game of Hollywood if you will, and we wait. I know a huge part of this is him wanting to see what I get to showdown with, and for the price I'm offering him, 5-1 on a call, although it seems like a great price, I can see some doubt in his face. Now, I don't know if that's doubt that my hand is a real hand, or doubt that his hand is any good, but now I'm deep into my acting career, and in this hand, we're here to win, so if it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid. We somehow induce a call after a long time in the holding tank, and we don't get to see the hand that we beat, but we do get to collect the pot. This session is going great so far, but our stack starts to dwindle after multiple pre-flop calls and multiple folds on the flop. The only thing the session is missing is a premium pocket pair in the hole. So we rub these two cards together and hope to make babies. As we look down, pocket queens. What makes it interesting is I'm in the big blind, so I get to act last pre-flop. I'm fantasizing about all the underground action that I'm about to get. But wait, what's happening? Why is everybody folding around to me? I only get one caller, so I bump it up to 15 and that same person calls. Unreal. We waited all night for a premium holding, and now we're heads up in a $30 pot playing for gas money. And to make matters worse, we see a king high flop of king jack 4. We c-bet like we would after most pre-flop raises. Despite the fact that that's a pretty good board for my opponent, I came out to tussle around, but there's no scuffle. There's no street poker. The first time in my life where I just get credit for having a big hand as the villain lays it down, and we embrace a very modest outcome to this hand. I kind of wish I can get a repeat on that hand, but premium pairs are so rare in poker. Huh? Well, we all know poker can be cruel sometimes. It's the allure that keeps us coming back. I've barely even been to showdown, and I know my opponents are starting to suspect that I'm calling with just about anything.
I can't just call. I can make a normal raise, and then just fucker calls with anything and anything.
Why did I get picked up?
You can never know which hand is going to be the big one, but when I pick up the pocket rockets, I suspect it might be this hand. Now up until this point, every pot was a bet and a 3-bet, so I zig when I should have zagged, and I smooth call, and I watch every player just smooth call behind me, as we are now going 4 ways to a flop, and the flop comes out 10, deuce, deuce. Not the absolute worst flop. Obviously I do not like the double deuces, but other than a straggling deuce, I can safely target a 10, which I do for a bet of 15. My opponent makes the call quickly. Usually a quick call is a draw type or a top pair hand on a board like this. So when the turn is a 9, I invite that card, as hands like 9-10 improve. And when my opponent leads for 15, I think that's an indication of what he might have. So I min click it up to 30, and my opponent quickly makes the call. At this point, I haven't seen anything that worries me, and I look over at another situation where my villain is short stacked. So when the dealer puts out a 4 of diamonds, I feel great about my hands. And just as I'm laughing my way to the bank, my opponent donk jams into me. Well, we don't like it, but we have to snap call, and we immediately show. Fortunately, slow rolling is encouraged in this game, and it can make it more fun, until it happens to you. My opponent acts like he's mucking, and last second turns over his hand. We channel the late Doyle Brunson as he turns over the flop boat, playing me like a damn fiddle. Well, I already gave the whole "I waited all night for this hand" speech, so no need to do it again. It sucks, but I did it to myself and it was my fault. Well, now it's time for a little PLO, with a group of guys and gals who do not understand the game one bit. So I'm put in a bizarre EV situation where I should basically never fold 4 cards if I have them in this game. Normally, I would ditch this hand faster than I would lose my bus pass in high school, but I'm almost forced to play. At least that's what I tell myself. And I have an extreme edge versus these people, so I tend to try to get involved quite often in PLO. Plus, they won't even fold their clean laundry. They misread their hands. At Showdown, we constantly have to explain that they must use 2 cards. They get it all in with the nut boat, just to find out that they only have trips. So it's no surprise we're heading 8 ways to a flop for $25 a piece. And we drill a decent favorable flop with the deuce 5 jack with 2 hearts. It's not good blocking my own outs, but it is good having card removal. So we lead into the pot for $150. And the only hand that could really be beating me is Jack-Jack, which is 100% a likely possibility with every player in the pot. But with exactly 3 combos of jacks available, I'm gonna get at least 1 bet on the flop and see what develops. Well, I do get 1 caller, and I get 2 all in for less. They could have any number of draws, and there's a plethora of bad turn cards for me. But the 7 of spades doesn't look like one of them, unless I'm up against exactly pocket 7s. The good news is we only have 1 player to worry about stacking off to, and if he has a hand like pocket jacks or pocket 7s, then he just simply has me beat, and I need to pay that man. If he has any number of combo draws, which is much more likely, I need to deny equity right now. I jam the remainder of my stack into the opponent who keeps getting put to the test. Now, PLO is a completely different animal because you hardly ever are so far ahead that you're begging for a call. In fact, I'm quite happy with the fold, so we could run out the river, and if I get beat, I lessen my potential losses. So, we're delighted to see the last live hand tank and ultimately fold. Nobody turns over their cards, so I don't even know what I'm fading, but when the river comes out, an ace, unless I'm up against pocket aces with exactly 2 hearts, that's a decently safe card, if I wasn't already beat. I immediately table my hands, and I mentally prepare to be slow rolled. But, one by one, my opponents lay it down, making bottom set good for a 4-figure pot in PLO. And we rack it up, and we call it a night after this hand. So what's the truth about underground poker? Well, the truth is, I've met more honest people at a poker table than I have in most other industries. Just use good judgment and have fun. See you guys next time.